Kilimanjaro Safaris. Para su seguridad, permanezcan sentados y mantengan las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del vehículo. Gracias. Hello everyone. Welcome to Kilimanjaro Safaris. Before you begin your trip, you should know that Untitled Chapter Wildlife Reserve
Karibuni is a Swahili word that means welcome. Welcome aboard. Slide on all the way down. Make sure you like the seat you're in once we're on the move. There will be no switching. On the right, watch your hands, arms, feet, and legs. Doors are going to slide closed. Asante Sana. Asante Sana does mean thank you, and Twende means let's go. And Jumbo means hello. My name is Kaylee. I'm going to be your guide on our adventure through the Harambe Wildlife Reserve today. Just a few safety notes before we head on out. Please keep your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the vehicle at all times and stay fully seated for the entire safari. That includes any lap sitters. Anyone in a lap needs to remain fully seated in the same lap for the entire ride. And keep a nice firm grip on any loose articles, especially cell phones and cameras. If anything falls out of my truck on the reserve, I cannot stop to pick it up. Now with all of that in mind, welcome to the Little Ituri Forest, and we're going to meet some okapi. We're going to meet an okapi over there on the right and some bongos over on our left. The okapi's stripes make them look a lot like a zebra. They're actually the only close relative to the giraffe. But the bongos have white stripes as well. And those are going to help them.
Bongo. Oh, look at
Those
him.
stripes are going to help them camouflage into their surroundings. And camouflage is these animals' primary form of defense. The bushes and the trees here in the forest do provide excellent cover for anyone who needs to hide.
Oh, look at this
Let's take a
guy.
look down here on the left. Just next to us, sitting on the ground, is a saddle-billed stork. And that's a female. I can tell because she's got yellow eyes. Males will have brown. The males up here on the hill on our right. Those two are a mated pair. Saddle-billed storks are generally very solitary birds, but they mate for life. They can also stand at about 5 feet tall, with a wingspan of 9 feet. For reference, that's about the width of the canopy of this truck. Aside from providing these animals with cover, the bushes and the trees around here are also these animals' primary source of food. And animals who get their food from bushes and trees are called browsers. Up on the hill on the left-hand side, there's another species of antelope called the greater kudu. Those are female kudu. You can tell because they don't have horns. We would definitely be able to tell if they were males because a male kudu's horns can get to be 6 feet across. We're headed out of the forest and we're making our way into the Sauky River, which is going to be home to animals who spend a lot of time in and around the water. So that's where we're going to be keeping an eye out.
Look at that thing up there on the hill, bud. That's something new.
You can see 2 hippos in the corner over there on our right-hand side.
There they are, sleeping.
They'll spend almost their entire day in the water to protect their sensitive skin from the sun. And they are capable of holding their breath up to 8 minutes at a time. And despite spending almost their entire day in the water, they cannot
That's
swim.
some nice water there.
Because they can't float. Adult hippos will weigh up to 5,500 pounds. Almost all of their body weight is muscle. So, instead of floating in the water, they'll sink. And instead of being able to swim, they'll walk along the bottom of the water. Over here, we're going to come up on some Nile crocodiles. This bridge is going to be a very important place for everyone to stay fully seated because we're passing directly over their habitat. We can see one with his mouth wide open. We can see 2 of them. Now that's not actually a threatening gesture. They'll do that because they are ectothermic. They cannot regulate their own body temperature. keep their body temperature up, but keeping their mouths open releases any excess body heat and keeps their temperature level. Now we're heading out of the Sauky River and we're starting to make our way to the largest area of the reserve, the Savannah. The Savannah is going to be home to some of Africa's most recognizable animals. But before we see any animals, I'll introduce you to another very important part of the ecosystem, the baobab tree over here on the right.
Baobab.
It doesn't look very healthy, but it actually just goes without leaves entirely for 9 months out of the year. And it does that to conserve water. They're really good at conserving water. They can hold hundreds and thousands of gallons in their trunk, which is very useful to the animals on the savannah during droughts. And for that, the baobab tree is also known as the tree of life. Now welcome onto the savannah. Looks like there's giraffes on the move out here. We're also going to see a zebra. Now, different kinds of zebras have different kinds of stripes. This is a Hartman's mountain zebra. They've got much thicker stripes on their back ends than other kinds. No two zebras have the same stripe patterns. They are all entirely unique, just like a human's fingerprints and a giraffe's spots. And they'll use their patterns to identify each other. In less than an hour after they're born, baby zebras will have their mama's stripes memorized, so they can always tell her apart from the crowd. There's a lot of animals out here, so we got a whole lot of wildebeest over here in the middle. A lot of these animals will stick together in large groups for safety and numbers. But wildebeest in the wild, their herds can number up to 1.5 million. They stay in those groups as they migrate about 1,000 miles every year. A lot of these animals will migrate as well, following their food, clearing an area out and then moving on to the next and the next until eventually all of their food has grown back. Let's take a look over on the left-hand side. There's some African painted dogs hanging out way behind the den, also known as wild dogs. They are the most successful hunters on the entire savannah.
They're hiding back there.
And sable antelopes are hiding behind the bushes back there on the left as well.
Way in the back there.
Now everybody else out here is a grazer. They get their food mainly from the ground and the grasses. The giraffes are browsers like the animals in the forest are.
Damn Google.
That's because they're the tallest animals in the world and the only ones who can reach most of the trees.
Hey, buddy.
So they can spend almost their entire day eating. They have no competition for their main food source. Giraffes will eat for about 20 hours a day. They only sleep for 30 minutes.
Good for them.
They don't sleep all of that at once either. They take little power naps throughout the day of about 10 minutes at a time, and they sleep standing up.
Good for them. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. That's a giraffe.
They don't particularly need to rest. If all they're doing is eating plants all day, they're not really expending much energy. That's true for a lot of herbivores. They'll eat all day, not sleep very much. And the opposite are predators, who will spend almost their whole day sleeping because they get all of their food from hunting, and if they don't have enough energy to hunt successfully, they can't eat. So conserving energy is really important for predators. Over in the tall grass over there on the right-hand side, you can see a little brown antelope whose coat makes it look a little bit like a s'more. That's a Springbok, one of the smallest species of antelope in the world, capable of jumping 6 feet up and 13 feet forward in a single bound. And a little closer to us, right up here, these guys are Ankole cattle. Their horns can get to be 6 feet long. They might look heavy, but they are actually hollow on the inside. Ankole cattle are one of the only domesticated animals on the reserve, but they are also one of the oldest domesticated species in the world. We have archaeological evidence of Ankoli cattle being domesticated dating back 6,000 years.
There's a giraffe up there, two of them. There's one right there, a big one, and then there's the big one up there.
Now these animals will work together to help each other to survive. And a lot of these animals will use giraffes as sort of an alert system. Since the giraffes are so tall, they have a better vantage point. They can see danger coming from much farther away. So the other animals will keep an eye out, watch the giraffes. And if a giraffe out here starts running, pretty much everybody else does too.
Runner!
Now, someone's walking around over here on the
There we
left.
go.
Oh, that's a mandrill over here.
Rafiki.
Mandrills are the largest species of monkey in the world. You caught a glimpse of their
There's one way back there too. See the little one?
distinct, very colorful back
Two
sides.
of
The
them back
males
there.
also have those bright blue and red noses.
Hey!
And over on the right-hand side, he's going to be a little hidden in the corner, but that is our first glimpse of an African elephant.
The backside of an elephant. That's a duck.
I did say he. That's a bit of an educated guess. I do have evidence to back it up. Male elephants tend to be a lot more solitary than the females. When you see an elephant hanging out alone, you can usually pretty safely
It's
assume
an
it's
African
male.
crow.
Because the females are born and raised and live in family groups for their entire lives. So they're pretty much always found together. The males are also raised within the same family groups, but they reach maturity at about 12 to 15 years old, and that's when they split off, either to live a completely solitary life or form smaller bachelor herds with the other males. Those family groups are generational. So they'll have their babies and raise them within the same groups that they were raised in. Eventually those babies have babies of their own and raise them again within the same family. And they'll pass down information and wisdom through the generations. They have pretty complex social structures, so they'll pass down their rules and then share stuff like the safest watering holes and the best places to find food. And the groups are led by a matriarch, who's usually the oldest female in the group. And she's usually the smartest too, because she's the one who makes decisions. When the herd moves, she's telling them where they're going, when they're going, and she's also responsible for making sure that everybody gets along. Oh, they're on the move over here.
There's people over there. See the people? They're real people, bud. Oh, there they are. They're up on the hill. On the hide. There he is, way in the
They
back.
might
In the trees.
be walking straight.
he's
Let's
right in
see
the
if
back
they
behind the
become
trees.
visible at any point.
Nope. Monday
Just
off.
disappeared behind the rocks. Where'd you go?
Good day off.
I don't think
Coming
they're
out.
going to show up.
Nope.
Up this way, we're going to circle around the flamboyance of greater flamingos. These are the largest and lightest pink of the flamingo species.
Except for you two
But no
guys,
flamingo
you're
starts out pink. They actually come out of their shells looking a bit like gray puffballs. And they start to develop their pink color about 3 months after they're born. The color comes from a mineral found in brine shrimp called beta-carotene. And the more shrimp they eat, the pinker they get, until about a year or so after they're born, when they start to look fully pink like adults.
The elephants. There they are, way over there, Jill. They're hiding.
But up this way, oh, lucky us. Guess who's entering the scene over here? That is a baby rhino. I'm not above baby talking these animals. Oh, that is a sweet girl. She's our youngest. And we got 3 babies out here, 3 baby white rhinos, at least. And she's our youngest, or 6 months old. White rhinos are the largest of all the rhino species. Adults like mom here, who's gonna roll around in the mud. These guys weigh about 5,000 pounds on average. Baby over here, at about 6 months old, is around a little over 700 pounds, we'll say. They gain about 2 to 4 pounds every day, so they catch up pretty quick. And they learn how to wallow in the mud when they're really, really young. They use the adults as an example. Is she gonna start splashing around? Oh, there you go. Oh, there you go.
Cheetah!
We are so excited to see babies out here. Such good news for the conservation of their species, especially because they're classified as near threatened.
2 cheetahs.
Now that's a cheetah up there on the hill. Oh, there's some more walking around in the back. The fastest land animals in the entire world, capable of running top recorded speeds of 75 miles an hour.
In the dark.
Their speed and their amazing camouflage combined make them perfect ambush predators. That's
There's
how they
another
hunt.
2 more, bud.
And unlike most big cats who are nocturnal, they'll do their hunting during the day. The opposite of nocturnal is the word diurnal.
Diurnal.
The daytime actually makes their camouflage a lot more effective.
Where is he?
We're going to circle around a kopje here. These are usually the tallest points on the savanna. And both predators and prey will use kopje as lookout spots for potential food and potential threats. They're also very good opportunities for shade, especially because the trees around here tend to be a lot more sparse and not as close together as they are in the forest. The rocks are going to be a lot more consistent. That little brown antelope over there on the right-hand side is a bontebok. We've seen a bunch of different antelopes. All of them were super good at jumping. Our greater kudu can get about 8 feet in the air. Bontebok are unique. They can't jump at all.
Where is he? He's hiding.
And that's why
He's
jumping and
Bye-bye. Nope,
the
nope.
skill of jumping is actually not a defining trait of antelopes, because some of them are just
That's a
really
day
bad
off.
at it.
You got the day off
Over
today.
here,
Hey,
the
look
holes
at
in the
that.
ground up
Boomba.
front are the warthog's burrows. There's a few warthogs over here. There's one in the burrow right down here on our left.
You talking to me?
They're the largest burrowing animals in the entire world. Now, sometimes they dig their own burrows using their tusks, but other times they steal them from other animals.
The tusks?
Now, this is our middle child over here. About 7 months old, probably about 900 pounds. As I said, white rhinos are a near threatened species, so we are really proud to participate in repopulation programs, species survival programs that ensure that no matter what happens to these animals, we will
Pumbaa
still
back
be
there.
taking care of them
That's the
and
other
they
Pumbaa.
will still be around.
Bye-bye.
And having babies is actually going to be super useful to us. Oh, there's a water buck over here.
Water bug.
Hi there. See that super shiny coat? Their skin actually secretes an oil that makes their coats almost waterproof.
Making them water
So
bug.
having babies is going to help us study these animals' behavior patterns in a way we don't usually get to, see how they interact with their young, and provide more information about how we can also take care of babies and share that research with people who maybe rescue wild rhinos and abandoned and orphaned rhinos in the wild. Now this is the Magadi Glen. This is the warden's post. This is no longer home to the warden, because the post got taken over by Nigerian dwarf goats. And they're adorable little nuggets, and they're also very good animals to have around on pastures, because they have amazing digestive systems. They'll eat pretty much anything, including the tougher vegetation on pastures that other cattle can't or won't eat. Kind of like a more sustainable version of lawnmowers. But as we exit the Magadi Glen, the safari is starting to come to an end, but we saw some pretty awesome stuff out there. And if you're wondering what you can do to help those amazing animals, the Disney Conservation Fund provides the funding to the research we do here on the reserve, as well as many projects around the world. And here at Animal Kingdom, if you donate at any register, Disney will match that donation dollar for dollar. But conservation doesn't have to end here on the reserve or even on the African savanna. You can participate in conservation efforts at home by getting to know the animals you share your own corner of the world with. So see what you can do. Maybe you can plant a pollinator garden to help out the honeybees. Or look up what you're putting in your lawn to help keep the waterways clean. And of course, education is one of the most important parts of conservation. And you are already educating yourself just by being here on this safari. So on behalf of all of the animals on our reserve, I thank you so much for joining us today. Now, it was my pleasure being your safari guide today. Hope I was able to give you guys a really awesome tour. And I do hope you get to see some more of the amazing animals out here in our park. Highly recommend you check out our walking trails like Gorilla Falls, just at the exit of the safari. Going to be home to some more really awesome African animal habitats, as well as different perspectives of some of the animals that we already saw. Over in our Asia section, we've got the Maharaja Jungle Trek, which is home to some South Asian animals as well. And on both of those walking trails, there will be animal experts hanging out across from pretty much all the animal habitats. It is a self-guided tour, but those experts are there to answer any questions you have about those animals. And I do highly recommend getting curious, asking those questions, because we are super passionate about education. And we are always happy to teach more about our amazing animals. If you have any questions about anything we saw out there, my windows are quite literally always open. I have no windows. So feel free to come on up and ask anything you might have been curious about. We're going to pull up to that unloading dock in just a moment. And I'll share one more Swahili word with you to round out this adventure. Kwaherini. That means go well. So go well, friends. Go wild. Have an amazing rest of your day here at Animal Kingdom and wherever your next adventure takes you.